So there I was, standing in the Galactic Compliance Bureau's holding cell, wondering how parking my cargo hauler at a 17-degree angle, instead of the regulation 15-degree angle, had escalated into a federal case. My name's Marcus Webb, professional space trucker, amateur problem magnet, and apparently galactic criminal mastermind. The guard, some kind of crystalline blob creature named Officer Glorp, oozed me down a corridor toward what I assumed was processing. Instead, I got marched into a courtroom that looked like someone had crossed a Roman amphitheater with an Apple store. Very sleek, very intimidating, very, we're about to ruin your day. Behind the bench sat Judge Krelton, and let me tell you, this guy was having none of it. 4 arms, purple skin, and a face that suggested he'd been dealing with humanity's nonsense for at least 3 centuries too long. His upper arms were folded across his chest while his lower arms shuffled through holographic files with the enthusiasm of someone reading their own autopsy report. Marcus Webb, he droned, not even looking at me. Human. Registered cargo hauler. 47 parking violations. 12 instances of unauthorized gravitational adjustments, and 1 complaint from the Vrin Empire for, and I quote, excessive swagger in a no-swagger zone. In my defense, I said, I didn't know swagger zones were a thing. His eyes, all 6 of them, finally swiveled to me. They are not. The Vrin made it up specifically for you. I grinned. I'm flattered. You should not be. Krelton dismissed the holograms with a gesture that somehow conveyed deep, personal exhaustion. Normally, for offenses of this magnitude, I would simply revoke your docking privileges for a standard cycle. However, you have accumulated enough violations to qualify for the gravity trial. I blinked. The what now? A murmur rippled through the courtroom gallery. I glanced around and noticed it was packed. Aliens of every description, all watching with what I can only describe as morbid anticipation, like they were waiting for a particularly entertaining execution. The gravity trial, Krelton repeated slowly, as if explaining astrophysics to a particularly dim child, is an ancient form of corrective punishment. You will be placed in a chamber where gravitational force doubles every minute. When you collapse, the trial ends. Your sentence will be based on your time of endurance. Most species manage approximately 2 to 3 minutes. And if I don't collapse? The entire courtroom erupted in laughter. Not polite chuckles either. Full-on, gasping, wheezing laughter. One alien in the back literally fell off their bench. Krelton's expression didn't change. That has never happened. The record is 4 minutes, 17 seconds, held by a Vrin war champion who immediately required spinal reconstruction. Do you understand the parameters? I shrugged. Seems simple enough. Stand in a room, gravity gets heavy, eventually I fall down. That about cover it? Precisely. Something that might have been satisfaction flickered across Krelton's face. Chief Observer Vexpril will monitor your trial. May your deity of choice have mercy on your structural integrity. Don't have a deity, I said cheerfully. But I do have spite. That gonna be a problem? Nobody answered. They just opened the door to the trial chamber. The room was circular, maybe 20 feet across, with walls made of some kind of translucent metal that hummed with energy. In the center was a simple platform marked with my designated standing zone. Above it, a holographic display showed 1.0 G in soft blue numbers. Observation windows ringed the upper section where I could already see a bunch of aliens gathering with recording devices. Standing at the control station was Vexpril, a tall, spindly creature with too many joints, and the nervous energy of someone who'd memorized the entire procedural manual, but had never actually expected to use it. Next to him bounced a smaller alien with oversized eyes, and what appeared to be a tablet grafted to one appendage. That's Pix, Vexpril said, noticing my glance. Intern, first day. Try not to make this traumatic for her. No promises, I said, stepping onto the platform. The surface hummed beneath my boots. Standard Earth gravity. Felt like home. So how does this work? Do I get a countdown or... The trial begins now, Vexpril announced, hitting a control. The humming intensified. The holographic display flickered. I looked up at the observation deck, found Judge Krelton's scowling face, and shot him a thumbs up. Then I dropped and started doing push-ups. 1, 2, 3, 4. The absolute silence from the observation deck was delicious. I could practically feel the confusion radiating through the translucent walls. 5, 6, 7, 8. The gravity display ticked over to 1.5 G, then 2.0 G. Still felt fine. I mean, sure, each push-up was getting marginally harder, but we were talking about the difference between lifting a laptop and lifting a desktop computer. Hardly apocalyptic. Mr. Webb, Vexpril's voice crackled through the chamber's speaker system. What are you doing? Push-ups, I grunted, hitting 15. What does it look like? It looks like you were exercising during a punishment trial. Well, yeah. I paused at the top of a rep, grinning at the nearest observation window. I'm already here, gravity's already increasing. Might as well get a workout in. Efficiency, right? You bureaucrats love efficiency. Through the translucent wall, I could see Vexpril turning to Pix with an expression of profound bewilderment. The intern was frantically tapping on her tablet, probably trying to find the section of the manual that covered defendant treats judicial punishment as gym time. The display hit 2.5 G, then 3.0 G. I felt the weight now, definitely, like someone had strapped a Marcus-sized weighted vest onto my back. But humans had been doing resistance training since we figured out rocks were heavy. This was just resistance training with extra steps. Or fewer steps, depending on how you looked at it. 25, 26, 27. This is irregular, Vexpril announced to nobody in particular. 28. That's what she said. 29. What did who say? 30. I pushed myself up to standing as the display rolled over to 4.0 G. My knees protested slightly, but nothing unbearable. Never mind. Cultural reference, you probably had to be there. Or human. Mostly human. But Chief Observer, he is currently operating at gravitational forces that should have liquefied his skeleton. Perhaps we should encourage him. Out of self-preservation, if nothing else. The display rolled over to 24.0 G, then 28.0 G, then 32.0 G. My arms gave out. I hit the platform face first, the impact driving air from my lungs. For a moment I just lay there, spread eagle, feeling like someone had parked a cargo ship on my back. Then, slowly, deliberately, I pushed myself up to a plank position. Modified technique, I wheezed. Also known as admitting defeat while stubbornly refusing to admit defeat. The observation deck had gone silent. Even the Vryn warriors had stopped talking. I held the plank, muscles screaming, vision tunneling, body running on nothing but spite and the vague awareness that millions of people were watching. I held the plank. The display hit 40.0 G, then 48.0 G, then 64.0 G. I held the plank. Someone in the observation deck started a slow clap. Others joined. Within seconds, the entire gallery was applauding, cheering, making noises that my translator gave up trying to interpret. Through the ringing in my ears, I heard Judge Krelton's voice, quiet and almost impressed. What in the name of the founders is this creature? Good question. At 64 G, I weighed approximately 11,000 pounds. For perspective, that's roughly 2 adult elephants. I was not designed to be 2 adult elephants. Nobody is designed to be 2 adult elephants. And yet here I was, existing as 2 adult elephants, holding a plank like my gym teacher was watching. Status report, Judge Krelton commanded, his voice cutting through the observation deck's noise. A new figure appeared at the control station. Dr. Thundra, the facility's medical officer. She was a reptilian species, scales glittering under the harsh lights. And she carried herself with the weary cynicism of someone who'd seen every possible way biological entities could fail. She studied the holographic displays showing my vitals with an expression that slowly shifted from clinical interest to genuine alarm. His heart rate is 200 beats per minute, she reported. Blood pressure would kill most species. Bones should be fracturing, muscles should be tearing, and yet... She trailed off, tapping controls, checking readings, double-checking them. He's adapting. Adapting? Vexpril looked like he wanted to file a complaint with reality itself. To what? Mathematics? You cannot adapt to gravity doubling every minute. Tell that to his adrenal system. Dr. Thundra pulled up a bioscan. His body is flooding with adrenaline, endorphins, and several other compounds I do not recognize. His cardiovascular system is operating at 110% of calculated maximum capacity. His musculature is somehow both tearing and repairing simultaneously. It is the most medically inadvisable thing I have ever witnessed, and I once treated a Glorfian who tried to eat a star. The display hit 72.0 G, then 80.0 G. My plank had degraded. I was no longer holding perfect form. My elbows were bent. My back was curved. I was essentially just a meat sandbag draped over my own forearms, held up by nothing but biological confusion and weaponized stubbornness. You know, I rasped, barely audible. CrossFit people would kill for this workout, literally. They would commit murder. Mr. Webb, Dr. Thundra's voice came through the speakers, unusually gentle. You can stop. You have far exceeded any expectation. There is no shame in not stopping. You will die. Probably, but imagine. The headline. Human dies doing push-ups to spite alien judge. That's legacy content right there. Despite everything, the pain, the impossible weight, the way my vision was flickering at the edges, I grinned. Because the absurdity of the situation was not lost on me. I'd come here for a parking ticket. Now I was teaching the galaxy a lesson in human stubbornness that nobody asked for and nobody wanted. The display hit 96.0 G, then 112.0 G, then 128.0 G. I could no longer feel my limbs. My body had transitioned from in pain to pain is a concept I once understood but can no longer recall. Blood vessels were probably bursting. Bones were microfracturing. My cells were having urgent meetings about staging a coup. But I was still conscious. The biology doesn't make sense. Dr. Thundra muttered, pulling up more scans. His pain response should have triggered unconsciousness at 32 G. Shock should have set in at 64 G. At 128 G, his heart should have stopped from sheer mechanical pressure. But he is still here, still aware, still talking, I whispered. Still breathing, still existing, out of spite. The observation deck had gone from cheering to something approaching religious awe. The Vryn warriors were having what looked like an existential crisis. Judge Krelton had both upper hands pressed to his forehead. Vexpril cleared his throat. Judge Krelton, I respectfully request permission to accelerate the gravity increase. End this mercifully. Denied. Krelton's voice was hollow. We follow protocol. We do not change the parameters mid-trial. That would be admitting we made a mistake. We did make a mistake. I am aware. The display hit 144.0 G, then 160.0 G, then 192.0 G. My translator implant was pinging constantly now. Messages from Earth, from colonies, from humans I'd never met who were apparently forming a religion around my poor life choices. One message caught my attention. Webb, you magnificent idiot, half of Earth is watching. Don't you dare quit. I tried to laugh. It came out as more of a wheeze. Not quitting, I mumbled. Literally cannot figure out how to stop being conscious. Dr. Thundra leaned close to her scanner. That may actually be accurate. His neurological activity suggests his brain has locked into an emergency override state. Fight or flight, except there is nowhere to fly, so his body has chosen fight gravity itself as its survival strategy. That is not a survival strategy, Vexpril protested, and yet he survives. The display hit 224.0 G, then 256.0 G, 28,000 pounds. A small spacecraft, a large truck, a ridiculous amount of weight for one human to be. And then finally my body made an executive decision without consulting me. Everything went black. I wasn't unconscious. Not exactly. It was more like my consciousness had been demoted, filed away in some dusty corner of my brain marked non-essential processes, while the essential stuff, heartbeat, breathing, not dying, took priority. But I could still hear things. Distant, muffled. He's down, Pix's voice. tinged with panic and excitement. "Stop the trial," Dr. Thundra commanded. "Wait." That was Judge Krelton. "Protocol states the trial continues until the subject loses consciousness or remains immobile for 10 consecutive seconds. He is not unconscious. He is still breathing." A pause. "His vitals are catastrophic," Dr. Thundra warned. "Heart rate erratic, blood pressure critical, multiple organ systems failing. If we continue, he will die. Then he should stop moving." Through the darkness, through the pressure that felt like the universe was personally angry with me, I processed that. Stop moving. Admit defeat. Let the gravity win. Absolutely not. With effort that I will never be able to adequately describe, I moved my right arm, inch by inch, dragging it across the platform. My hand formed a shape. One finger extended. The observation deck erupted. "Did he just—" Vexpril couldn't finish the sentence. "Yes," Pix confirmed, equal parts horrified and delighted. "He just flipped us off." The display read 256.0 G and holding. My entire body was locked in place, pressed flat against the platform, probably leaving a Marcus-shaped impression in the surface. But my middle finger stood tall, a monument to human obstinacy. "Stop the trial," Judge Krelton said quietly. "Stop it now." Vexpril hit the emergency shutdown. The humming ceased. The crushing weight began to decrease, sliding back down through the numbers. 256G, 200G, 150G, 100G. At 50G, I managed to wheeze out a sentence, "Personal best." At 25G, feeling began returning to my extremities. I immediately regretted this development because feeling meant pain, and there was a lot of pain. At 10G, Dr. Thundra and a medical team rushed into the chamber. At 1G, I was loaded onto a hover stretcher, every part of me screaming various complaints. "Status?" someone asked. "Alive," Dr. Thundra confirmed, scanning me with medical equipment. "Inadvisable, biologically implausible, but alive." Through the observation window, I could see the gallery in chaos. Aliens of every species talking, arguing, gesturing wildly. The Vryn warriors had gathered in a corner, apparently having a heated discussion about honor and combat readiness, and whether they needed to update their military training programs. My translator implant exploded with notifications. The viewership counter had hit 15 million. Someone had already made compilation videos. There were memes. So many memes. One message stood out, from another human cargo hauler. "Webb, you absolute legend. The Vryn just filed an official complaint claiming humans have an unfair biological advantage. They want us reclassified as a combat species." I tried to laugh. Everything hurt more. "Mr. Webb," Judge Krelton's voice echoed through the chamber. He stood at the observation window, all four arms hanging limply at his sides, looking like someone who'd just watched their entire legal philosophy get body-slammed by a random cargo hauler. "You have completed the trial. 12 minutes, 43 seconds, new record. By significant margin." "Cool," I rasped. "Do I get a trophy? Or at least my parking violations waived?" There was a long silence. "All charges dismissed," Krelton said finally. "There is no legal precedent for this outcome. The trial is designed to measure endurance, determine appropriate sentencing. You have broken the measurement system. The trial itself is now in question. The entire punitive framework is in question. You have questioned everything by simply refusing to fall down. That's what I do, Your Honor. I specialize in questioning things by being too stubborn to know when to quit." He stared at me for a long moment. Then impossibly his mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Humans," he said quietly, "are going to be such a problem." "Your Honor, we already were." As the medical team wheeled me out of the chamber, past the stunned crowd, past the bureaucrats having nervous breakdowns, past the Vryn warriors who were definitely not crying but were definitely experiencing strong emotions, I held up my middle finger one more time. The galaxy needed to know. Humans weren't just in the stars. We were staying, and we were never going down without making it weird. 3 days later, I woke up in the medical bay feeling like I'd been disassembled, put through a blender and reassembled by someone who'd lost the instruction manual. Every muscle ached. Every bone protested. Even my hair hurt, which shouldn't have been biologically possible but apparently was. Dr. Thundra appeared beside my bed holding a medical scanner. Awake. Good. Your recovery is proceeding at a pace I can only describe as insultingly fast compared to every other species. It's the spite, I croaked. Keeps the immune system motivated. She made a note. I am writing a paper about you. 17 different medical journals have already requested it. You are simultaneously the worst and best patient I have ever treated. That's going on my resume. Please do not. She finished her scan. You are cleared to leave. Against my better judgment and all medical advice, you are functional. Try not to do anything this stupid again. No promises. The door opened. Pix bounced in, tablet grafted to her appendage as always, eyes even wider than usual. Mr. Webb, you're awake. I brought your personal effects and also 17 interview requests, and also can you sign this? She thrust a datapad at me. On it was a photo of me, mid-plank at what the timestamp indicated was 128G. Someone had captioned it, "Never give up." I signed it. What happened to Vexpril? Pix's enthusiasm dimmed. Demoted, reassigned to filing. Chief observer position has been eliminated. The gravity trial has been officially retired as a punitive measure. Retired? Humans ruined it. She said this with no judgment, just stating facts. After your trial, 7 other humans got arrested specifically requesting the gravity trial. They all lasted over 8 minutes. One lasted 15 minutes by doing yoga poses. The Galactic Compliance Bureau decided the trial was no longer effective as punishment and was instead becoming a human achievement challenge. I laughed, then immediately regretted it as my ribs reminded me they were still somewhat fractured. Sounds about right. Also, Judge Krelton resigned. Wait, what? He submitted his resignation citing fundamental philosophical disagreement with a universe that allows humans to exist. It was rejected. He is required to continue serving. He is not happy about this. The door opened again. This time, a familiar 4-armed figure entered. Judge Krelton looked like he'd aged a century in 3 days. His upper arms were crossed. His lower arms held a datapad. Webb, he said simply. Your Honor, your charges are dismissed. Your record is expunged. Your parking violations are waived. Your ship has been released from impound. He paused. The Galactic Council has also issued you a formal commendation for demonstrating unexpected biological resilience, which is the most diplomatic way they could phrase, "We are terrified of your species." That's nice. It is not nice. It is a problem. Do you understand what you have done? The Vrin want humans reclassified as a combat species. The military academies are scrambling to update training protocols. 3 civilizations have filed formal protests about human biological unfairness. You have created a diplomatic incident by doing push-ups. I grinned. Your Honor, with respect, you created a diplomatic incident by assuming humans would play by the rules. We never play by the rules. We don't even read the rules, we just show up and see what happens. Krelton stared at me. Then, incredibly, he laughed. Just once. A short, sharp bark of sound. Humans are going to burn down the galaxy through sheer chaos, aren't they? Probably. But we'll apologize afterward. We're very polite about our chaos. He shook his head and left, muttering something in his native language that my translator rendered as, "Why did they have to discover space travel?" Pix helped me to my feet. Everything protested, but I could walk. Shuffle, really, but it was movement. My ship was docked in Bay 7. As I limped down the corridor, aliens stopped to stare. Some pointed. Some took photos. One Vrin warrior actually saluted, which was both hilarious and deeply uncomfortable. The ship was exactly as I'd left it, cluttered, slightly disorganized home. I collapsed into the pilot's chair and checked my messages. 15,000 unread. Most were congratulations. Some were job offers. Several were marriage proposals from species I didn't recognize. One was from my mother, just saying, "Marcus, what the hell?" Which was fair. And then, at the bottom, one new message. Official Galactic Compliance Bureau header. I opened it with trepidation. Subject: Incident Report. Attention, Marcus Webb. Human cargo hauler arrested for parking violations. Requesting gravity trial. Claims to be your cousin. Please advise. I stared at the message. Then I started laughing, which hurt, which made me laugh harder. Humans hadn't just arrived in the galaxy. We'd invaded, armed with nothing but stubbornness, poor decision-making skills, and an absolute inability to know when to quit. I sent a quick reply. Tell him to go for the record and film it. Then I fired up the engines, plotted a course to literally anywhere else, and left the station behind. Somewhere in the galaxy, another human was about to teach aliens that we didn't follow rules. We didn't accept limitations. We showed up, we did something inadvisable, and we made it everyone else's problem. It was, I reflected as the stars streaked past, a pretty good approach to cosmic exploration. My translator pinged one last time. Another official message. The gravity trial facility is being converted into a human gym. You are banned from entering. Please acknowledge. I acknowledged. Then I immediately plotted a course back there for my next workout. Some rules, after all, were made to be broken.